guys, welcome back to another video. Okay, so today I have been sitting down and I've been pondering about investment opportunities within Africa, specifically Ghana, because that's where I'm based. And I've been thinking, Airbnb, what a brilliant idea. With the amount of people that we have at the moment trying to come to Ghana, to make it in Ghana, everybody needs housing. No matter who you are, you need a place to put your head down to rest, basically. And so, I mean, the more I thought about it, you know, on the surface, Airbnb seems like, yes, that is the way forward. I mean, there are so many options. When you go look at Airbnb, there's so many options, and people want to live all over the place, not just Accra. They want to live maybe Kumasi, they want to live Volta region, they want to live in so many different areas. And, you know, when you first think about it, you be thinking that, okay, well, I perhaps have a property that I have available and I'm happy to rent that out for an income. Because let's be real, we're doing this for an income. We're not doing it because we just want to be nice. We're doing it because we want to see a return on our money. And honestly, Airbnb seems perfect, if I could put it that way. It seems perfect on the surface, but is it really? The more I got to thinking, I thought about a couple of things, and I had some questions pop up which I thought really did need answering. So the first thing I thought about was, can you afford the initial outlay of having Airbnb? Now obviously, if you have your property already, there is no initial outlay, because you may have a property that's sitting vacant that you can easily put on Airbnb. Hey, let's face it, it's pretty simple to do, right? Just head to the website, list your property as a host, and bada bing, bada boom, you're pretty much ready to go. Everything's good, you know? But if you don't, is it wise to jump into Airbnb straight away? That's something that needs to take a little bit of thought. Because if you're going to build, you need to think about, are you happy with your capital being tied up for that amount of time with no return while the place is being done? So you need to think about your income, your savings, what you have. So if you're here and if you're paying rent and you don't have a place for yourself, do you want to be building something while you're renting somewhere else? Do you want to live in something while you're preparing it and getting it ready for Airbnb? Where will you live after the Airbnb is ready? You know, there are quite a lot of questions that kind of spring to mind when you think about Airbnb, because it's not something that, unless you have the property already, it's not something that you can just jump into overnight. You know, you have to have something available. So you may mean building from scratch. Can you afford for your money to be tied up for that amount of time with nothing happening? Because we know already from past experience that anything to do with building, it's definitely a slow return, so it's more of a long-term investment. So if you have that money sitting in the bank perhaps and it's not really doing anything, then probably Airbnb will be the right choice for you, because you want to do something with that money. You don't want that money to be just sat in its bank and just doing nothing except earning a few pennies here and there. You want to use the money for something much better. So Airbnb can be a really great way to get some income while you're here. Because one thing about Ghana is you always need to think about income streams, where you can get lots of different streams coming in. Airbnb is brilliant. It's pretty straightforward, simple, and can get you what you need. The other thing you need to think about is, once you have your Airbnb already, are you going to be okay if there is no occupancy? Because let's face it, there are certain times, and that goes regardless of where you live, when it comes to Airbnb, there are going to be times when perhaps your property is vacant. Now, if Airbnb is your only mode of income, then could be a little bit touch and go, you know. If you know you're going to be relying on that for your month to month, every month, you need that income, perhaps you might want to think twice about Airbnb, because it may not necessarily give you a stable income. So that's just something to be on the lookout for. Another thing you need to think about is, who is your target audience or your target market when you want to do your Airbnb? Because let's just face it, there are some places where Airbnb may perhaps do better than others. So if you live somewhere where it's quite deep inside and the access roads are not that great, you know, it's quite difficult to get to, it may be harder for you to get people to rent a property like that. Most people, when they're coming to Ghana, want an area where they have quick access to amenities. They can pop to the shop here, they can go here. If they want to go out, they can have access to all those different links. And that's something you need to really think about, because if that is your market, then you need to make sure you can cater for them. So if your home is going to be deep in somewhere, maybe you want to think about allowing the person who's staying there to have access to a car and a driver, so that can mitigate some of the queries that the person has, or some of the doubt rather that the person has to staying in your property. Okay, another thing you want to do is you want to make sure that your interiors are nice. Now, depending on who you want to attract, your interiors make a huge difference. The pictures that you put up for your property are going to make a huge difference. All these things make huge differences. Okay, so if you're kind of your audience, or the person that you want to attract is more of a business person that you want to make sure that the house is suited to that. So you want to think about perhaps providing a desk, a comfortable living space, a nice relaxing living space, you know, nice and airy, a nice bright kind of home. You know, some people don't want to come into a house that is, you know, quite dark, and you know, you want to feel when you're in a space, you want to feel really relaxed as possible. And so if that is your market, make sure that you are catering to them. I know that there is also a flip side of this, and the flip side is that if you price your property right, it will rent out. I mean, I spoke to someone today who actually does Airbnb and has been doing Airbnb for a while. So I really wanted to kind of get to the nitty-gritty of what it's like to actually be a host for Airbnb, and what it was like actually getting people into the property. Now, this person said to me, Airbnb is absolutely worth it. It really is. But she said you do need to bear in mind that obviously there are peaks and troughs. So sometimes you'll get people demanding the place. You'll be in such high demand, you'll have to be turning people away. But then there'll be seasons where, you know, people are not really traveling to Ghana, and therefore the property is empty. So from that perspective, you need to make sure that if Airbnb is what you want to do, you need to make sure that, you know, you're not just spending the money when it comes because it's high season, and then in the dry season you've got nothing. So you kind of have to find a way to make it even out. So whatever you need to do, you need to make sure that you have enough that you can kind of sustain yourself throughout all the months, and not just in its peak seasons and then empty, when no one's there and the property's vacant. There's nothing going on basically, and you're like sweating for money. No one wants to be in a situation where they're sweating for money. So you must really consider that if that's what you're going to do. One of the things that you want to check for when you're about to do Airbnb as well is you want to make sure that the person that's coming to stay in your property is legit. Because let's be real, I mean, I've rented out a property in the UK before, and we've had some nightmare people, and honestly, you just don't want that. You just don't want that here. And the good thing about Airbnb here is that they actually have to go through like a verification process. So if you sign up to do Airbnb, you'll see that the person that wants to come and stay in your property, they have to go through this process. So there are certain checks that are done. So if anything goes wrong, that person can easily be located, and that's for your safety and for theirs. So that's a good thing. Also, you can allow people to auto book. An auto book basically means that as someone goes onto the website and they say, oh yeah, I really like this property, I would like it for these dates, the person can automatically book, and that's it, they've booked the space. If you are a bit more wary about who's coming into your property, you can do something where a person can request access to the property, and then you then have the choice to look over the person's history in other Airbnb properties if you like the person, and if you're happy with everything, then you can accept them. If you're not happy, or you find something a little bit iffy, you can decide not to allow the person into your property. So you have really good control in that sense, and that's absolutely amazing. I think for me that's definitely a plus, because you don't want any old random person coming in there, trashing your place and leaving you in the lurch basically. Nobody's about that life. Okay. So there are a few things that you do need to be aware of before you jump into the Airbnb game, and that is you need to make sure your rules are stipulated very, very carefully. And when I say that, I mean the rules for those that are going to enter into your house. The best thing to do is put your rules obviously before a person books, so they can see on the first screen as they click onto your property on Airbnb. You want to make sure that the person understands what they are letting themselves in for, because the last thing you want is for someone to book your house and then there are certain things that you haven't said that pop up later, and then it makes you both uncomfortable. One of those things is smoking. Are you happy to let someone smoke in your property? If you're not, you need to make that one of the rules on your page, that you don't want anybody in the house smoking. You also need to put those rules up somewhere on a wall in the house as well, to say, look, You're not allowed to smoke here. Again, you need to think about things like laundry. Are you going to allow people, do you have a washing machine that people can do their washing inside the premises? You know, these are little things. So obviously having a washing machine is another expense. Again, it's also something that can break if someone's in the house. So you need to look at it really well and understand, and let the person understand what it is that they're going to get when they book your property. Again, is breakfast included? I mean, let's be real. It's called Air Bed and Breakfast, Airbnb. So are you actually providing breakfast for people, or are you expecting people to self-cater and do what they need to do? Either way, you need to stipulate that in the rules again, and make sure that the person is happy with what they are about to receive from you, because no one wants an unhappy person who has booked your property, who will then go on to leave a bad review. And I will say the good thing about Airbnb as well is that when the person leaves, you will do a review on how the person's stay was, how you felt they looked after the property and all of that, and the person will also do a review of your house as well. So, you know, if you've got curtain poles hanging down and all of that, they'll probably likely say it. So Airbnb can be absolutely a great investment if you're here in Ghana. You can put, if you're not sure about the prices of things, you can kind of put a feeler out and you can say, okay, this is how much the property costs per night. You can even have minimum stay if you want, so you could do a 2-night minimum stay, or you could do a week's minimum stay. It's really up to you. So you can basically throw out the price, and you know, people are also free to negotiate if they want to. So say if your price is $100 a night, I don't know, I'm just putting a random figure in mind. If you decide to say, okay, look, this property is $100 a night and the person wants to come for 7 nights, you can be a bit flexible and say, okay, well, I'm only going to charge you, I don't know, $600 for the 7 nights or whatever it is. However you feel, you know, you want to be flexible, and you can come to some kind of agreement that you both accept, and that kind of helps smooth things out. Because one thing that is very difficult about Ghana sometimes is that when it comes to looking for a property, you never really know what you're going to get. But the thing is, if you really want to make it big on Airbnb, you must make sure that everything is to the T. Everything you've said is to the T. None of this, oh, someone moves in and then, hey, there's no hot water. If there's going to be no hot water, stipulate that there's not going to be any hot water, because the last thing you want on Airbnb is bad reviews, because everybody looks at the reviews when it comes to Airbnb. You have to treat that Airbnb as a professional business. You want people to recommend your house. You want to be fully booked, because believe me, people talk, especially here in Ghana, where Ghana is so small, and they have lots of people go back and forth all the time. They have family here, they go back for a bit, they come back. You know, you want to have repeat customers as well, so you want to give the person that's coming to stay your property a really great experience, and you can easily do that by making sure everything is done to the T, you see. So is Airbnb a lucrative business? Absolutely, but I think we all already knew that. But just make sure you do watch out for the bumps in the road. Like I say, occupancy is probably going to be the biggest thing that you probably have to look out for. But apart from that, Airbnb is absolutely a fantastic idea. We've actually considered that for ourselves at one point, but we've always gone back and forth on it. So yeah, another good thing about Airbnb is that it doesn't have to be a property that is away from you. If you are happy, you can have a house and you can build a small tiny home and use that as an Airbnb. So I mean, the options are really endless. Airbnb is a great way to get some income, and it's brilliant because the people that are coming and that want to stay in the Airbnb are coming from outside, so that's a really good way to get a juicy income. But anyway guys, that is it for today. I hope you have learned something. If you are considering an Airbnb rental, I'd say definitely look into it. Just be careful where you list your property, I would say, because there are lots of platforms out there where you can put your house up for rent, but you just never know who you're going to get. And I feel like with something like Airbnb, you're going to have measures that have been taken to make sure both you and the person moving into your house are both safe. So for me, Airbnb for the win. And that's it for today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed that. If you haven't already subscribed, guys, oops, excuse me. Woo. Sorry. Yeah. If you haven't already subscribed, please do me a favor, hit the subscribe button for me, hit the notification bell. Don't forget to also do me a favor and like, comment, and share this video for me. I would really appreciate it. Until next time, I am out. Bye.